When it gets too hot and I gotta go, I'll go. But no politician or bureaucrat's gonna tell me to go. And I don't appreciate being called a fool or stupid or whatever because I stay and save my house and my livestock.
Well, we have a society full of soft, weak men who...
Well, soft men make soft people, and that's what's happened to us. We become soft and no risk. You know what? That's what keeps you going, a little bit of risk. Keeps you alive, eh? Makes you think once in a while. And be able to walk and chew gum at the same time instead of having somebody else looking after you.
Moving up top of it. Yeah, there's plenty.
So I'm standing here at 4199 Paxton Valley Road, and behind me there are several houses that have burned to the ground. Behind the camera there are several more, all along the Paxton Valley Road. The sides of the road, the power lines are burnt to a crisp, and houses have burned to the ground. There are some houses that have remained intact, and those are homeowners and ranchers that have decided to stay behind. So for the sake of anonymity, I'm going to blur your face out like we talked about. You don't have to give me your name. But if you want to start out by telling me how long you've been up here, when this started, and just tell me the problems you've been having.
Well, I mean, problem number one is just a lack of help and a lack of response. All the residents of this valley have been screaming for help from BC Wildfire, and we've been all but neglected. Even structure protection wise, there was no structure protection plan put in place here for Paxton. They had a couple fire trucks that drove up the road here with their lights on and told everybody to pull the firewood away from their house, and that's about it. Nobody had sprinklers put on their houses. Nobody had, assessments done of what, needed to happen to try and save homes. Just the ball has been dropped at every stage. Well, it's puzzling because when this fire started out on the DLR, it was small and it was easily containable, and there was two different crews of local loggers with heavy machinery. These are experienced men, not their first rodeo with fires. They were ready to roll in within hours. BC Wildfire Service would not let anybody near that fire for 48 hours because of red tape and bureaucracy that is just useless. So they let that fire burn unchecked in a dry grassland for 48 hours during one of the driest times we've ever had in this province. So what do you think was going to happen? Those bulldozers could have easily hemmed that fire in with a guard line, and the next morning you could have laid down a few lines of retardant and we wouldn't be standing here today in our burned out valley. Drop the red tape liability BS, because this is what's happening. Work with the locals right away. Don't make people wait 48 hours to become registered because of a liability. We're not interested in suing anybody. We're interested in saving our own livelihoods. It's easy to leave if you knew somebody was going to be there to take care of your property, or at least make an effort to save it. But with nobody being here, like I was talking about with the structural protection, with nobody being there to plan for that, it makes it very hard to just leave and walk away from everything you've ever worked for. And then for the TNRD to make comments about basically blaming this, the fact that we've had structure loss on people not leaving, putting their personnel in danger, is just, it's utter BS. They've had so much time to see this coming with inaction. A week ago, the air was clear, there was no wind, it wasn't bad. They could have hemmed that fire up with retardant, but they didn't. They let it come right down and jump the highway and just demolished Monte Lake. We need help, and no one's here to help us. It's everybody for themselves now, because you can't depend on somebody that's not going to be there. So if you can't count on the people to be there, if you want a job done right, you got to do it yourself, kind of thing. Which is sad.
We've been out here, had 2 hours sleep last night, holding off on our place. The only people that actually helped us was CN Rail. They came in, put a bunch of fire retardant around our place, and then we basically just been staying up in shifts and trying to keep it off the property.
And why do you think the BC Wildfire Service has abandoned you guys?
I honestly just think because it's not Vancouver or Vancouver Island, they don't care. We're standing on Highway 97, just north of Monte Lake, and basically just trying to keep the fire from jumping the highway, keeping it off of our property and other neighbors around. We just helped put out some spot fires in a neighbor's driveway and prevented his house from going up.
And so why are you here and not the BC Wildfire Service?
Because they kind of left us stranded. I mean, they say that they're doing a whole bunch, but realistically, they haven't. This fire started and it was 10 hectares, grew to 300, and even the local loggers, they were trying to get cats up there and put it out, and the government and the forest ministry said, no, don't let it burn. And that's part of the problem, is why we have all the issues we have. If they were allowed to put it out earlier, when we had the opportunity and it was small, we wouldn't have multiple people losing their homes, losing their livestock, and their well-being in general. It really hurts, because there's a lot of this community is quite close, and we know of quite a few people ourselves that have lost their places, and there's not much to say. It's just devastating. If I could speak to them right now, what I'd love to say is, why didn't you jump on this earlier? I mean, this is people's homes, and like I said, livestock. It's really affecting a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that aren't going to make it through this very well. There's some people without insurance, and it breaks my heart that people are losing their homes because of government neglect, basically. What I honestly think is that if it's your home and it's your livelihood that's burning, what are you going to do? Are you going to run, or are you going to try and stand it off? Well, I'm sorry, you know what? There's times where you have to stand up and do it yourself, because nobody's there to help you.
People that are saying what kind of fools we are because we didn't leave. We just saved a house up the road here. Everything that I have is invested here. And I don't have a big fat paycheck every month and a big fat pension when I'm finished. And if I don't save it, I'm too old to start over again. And that's why we're doing this.
What would you want to say to the saucemen on Twitter calling you guys idiots for staying here?
I call them chicken shits. That's what I call them. They got no guts in them left. My grandfather told me something when I was a little kid. And he went through 2 world wars and occupied in Europe, and he says, boy, he says, you always make sure you can look after yourself, because someday you might have to. And this is what it is, eh? I don't depend on nobody else to look after me. That's it.
Well, we're in the Paxton Valley itself, between the Estaquilin and Martin Mountain. So it's a corridor of not exactly east-west on the compass, but certainly in line with prevailing wind. And so the fire being down here 10 k's as the crow flies, it's a pretty nerve-wracking thing, especially when you can see the flames from the house. We've been here for 15 years, and this is not the first experience, and it's not the first time that we've seen a certain amount of bumbling. Certainly, I recall on one occasion of phoning the 555 number and to report a fire, and knowing full well ours are the only eyes that look on it, and being told, yes, it's been reported, but it certainly wasn't reported. And it seems evident to me that there's plenty of room for fine-tuning with the whole business of understanding the reporting and monitoring and managing of the firefighting facility.
And what do you make of this notion that the people who are staying behind are so-called idiots?
Well, I think it's easy for people to say that when they're not the ones that are potentially going to lose everything, as well as animals. And I asked those same people if their homes were, in danger, would they want assistance or would they want to try and save their animals? But I think there are regulations and funding issues that have to be addressed. I think the way that they look at approaching these fires and how many resources are used and potentially not used properly, again, as well as preventive measures. There's a lot of fuel around these communities that can be dealt with. There's a lot of people, especially now with COVID, that are struggling, and we could put people to work getting rid of the fuel issues to help prevent these things from spreading like they have. And then training them as well to deal with it, so when it happens, you're not calling 555 and then all of a sudden a day or two later someone arrives, because there's not enough resources. We need to be able to deal with this locally as well as have outside help.
I would add that the illustration of what's played out here gives all those people that you're talking about who might want to stay behind every validation to do so in another situation. That's my take. I mean, there's been nothing demonstrated here that would reinforce that we should have adopted some other policy than what we have. Nothing. That's a good shot. It's
good to see the clouds. Hopefully something's coming in.
Yeah, but he had just got this lawn so perfect it was like a fucking golf green.
Welcome to beautiful Monte Lake.
So tell me where we're standing right now and what has happened to your community.
Well, we're right in the middle of Paxton Valley Road right now, and it's been consumed by fire. Right now we're just the last residents, whoever came back after the big blaze, just trying to put out what little fires are left and save houses. I know they've already saved a few that have just been left. There's no other help, no outside help. It's just people that live here running around tirelessly trying to put out fires.
There's been a narrative put forth that there have been BC Wildfire Service crews up here protecting property, and I've been here for the last about 5 hours today and I haven't seen any.
No.
Have you seen any? And
Zero.
And what are your thoughts on that?
I was here all day yesterday. Well, as much of the day as I could tolerate. Like, it was just too much. Just seeing everything. I left, drove out of here, and it was only residents dealing with every fire because there was a lot of fires around yesterday. I went down, left at the store. There was some fire guys down there at the bottom. And that's all I saw.
How does it make you feel when they say, when they're flat out lying that they have members up here protecting and monitoring property when there's none?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you're in the midst of it and you're inside. You see what's actually happening, and then there's the social media side of things where, you know, people from the area are trying to, you know, tell the story, and you get the internet trolls already out telling us that we're morons and stupid for being here, or you know, that we're not telling the truth. But you've been here, you see it. It is like, why would we lie about this?
That one that you're seeing the smoke, that's right at your place too. That's right at your bottom corner there.
Maybe his top corner, Ryan. Yeah, we got to get in there, boys. It's getting bad. We got to go into Kyle's field, and then it's the top left in between him and Mike. You're not going to miss it. It's a big fucking plume.
Okay, I'm watering up. I'm away. What type of hose length do I need?
Grab 2 of my fire hoses and a nozzle with forestry on it.
I've not talked to one BC Fire guy in 3 days in here.
There's this narrative going around that they have crews up here monitoring and protecting property.
Sorry, man. There's no one here. There's 5 residents. I just got word of this morning a podcast that they put out. I'm not going to put names on it, but they said that they had air tankers, ground support crews, and heavy machinery in this valley. Do you see them? You're here. They're not here. They haven't been here all day. We haven't had a helicopter. We haven't had nothing. 0.
That's wild.
It's unreal, man. I'm really frustrated. For those guys to be calling us out and saying, you know, that we hampered their issues. No. There was no one here. I called this a week and a half ago. I told them. I told multiple people that it was going to cross right there with the path that it was taking. Nothing was done. There was big pumps at the end of the lake. There was big main lines with huge water available. Guess what? That wasn't BC Wildfire Service contract. That was CN or CP, I don't even know who's on that railway, but that was them contracting that company. I'm not going to name names of the company. They were there to protect the tracks only. That was it. I've heard this happening all throughout our province, that nobody's getting any help. They're trying to kick us out. And I don't know if it's they don't want us to see that there's nobody here trying to protect our stuff. Or I just don't know. I don't know.
Over my shoulder, up at the very top of the mountain. My family and I, we built this place over the last 5 years, and we had our little off-grid oasis up there with an amazing view, and it was great. Now not so much. It's a big, ugly, scarred mess, and yeah, I have to evaluate if there's even anything salvageable and start over. The day it actually jumped across in the morning, I've got photos of it. It was just burning horizontally and up, and it looked like it was just going to blow back up the mountain. It was a clear day. It seemed to me like an ideal day for air tankers to drop retardant and slow it down and stop it, but that wasn't the case. 2 or 3 hours later, it exploded, headed down the mountain. We went and looked one more time just to see, because we saw the big plume of smoke, and it was, at that point, it was unbelievable. We knew it was futile. After it took off and got really bad and jumped the highway, and I was fleeing to get out of here, then I noticed the air tankers. They just, I don't know if it was a concession to say we tried, but it was well too late. It should be nice to have other people not have to go through this, because unless you've lived through the threat of a wildfire, you have no idea what it's like. It's just that to live in that fear daily, nightly, it's hard to sleep. I just don't wish it on anyone.